Contrary to recent reports you may have seen, we've listened very hard to what victims of abuse say. As the report before you makes clear, we are doing this tonight after meeting and listening to the survivors of abuse.
Is it just the council? No, the police force. They have got a lot of accountability. The care system, they've got a lot of accountability. There's a lot of paper swapping on desks that go here, and you can tell that. You think to yourself, this place is just so corrupt.
So by now, Lancashire Police, Special Branch and MI5 all knew about the extensive allegations. The officer who first investigated Smith feels let down.
People said the police didn't care and they weren't interested. Well, quite frankly, we did care and we were interested. But I'm afraid there were very powerful people making sure that we didn't succeed.
It's unbelievable. You know, we've got to acknowledge it, we've got to show it, we've got to highlight it, inform the people, particularly the people of the voting population of Rochdale.
That Smith was being protected, and he was being protected by some fairly powerful people, and I think he was being protected because he knew of other paedophiles in the networks in which he operated, and had he been prosecuted, then I think those other people would have been named by Smith, and that's why they ensured that he was never put before the courts.
Then you look at it from a different light. You think to yourself, well, these guys, why are they being so quiet? I'm sure they'll want business interests. I'm sure they won't want any negative publicity on their watch. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a boys' club mentality, that they will not want to be seen to be outing any of their predecessors or bringing their party or the council as a whole into disrepute. There'll be all that. They'll be wanting just to keep their head down and further their careers. I can understand that. That is probably the right thing to do. But when you come up against a moral dilemma...
It could have been stopped, and we won't be in this position where me and you are having this conversation about somebody that has destroyed probably hundreds of lives.
Do all them things still inhibit you from doing the right thing?
A mile from Westminster, half a mile from MI6. Long gone tenements that may have held dark secrets.
There's no sign of Coronation buildings now. They were unloved, fell into disrepair, and were eventually knocked down. But not before they were the focus of a child abuse inquiry by Scotland Yard. Now, 35 years on, an officer familiar with that inquiry has come forward to tell its story, and how it came to a sudden and mysterious end.
The operation targeted a number of properties in South London, but particularly a flat in Coronation Buildings. The officer described how over the course of 3 months, a small team of detectives watched the flat. A caretaker helped them install a video camera, which showed boys being sexually abused by men. It was a trade that linked London's paedophile-infiltrated care homes with the House of Commons. One of the men caught on camera was the Liberal MP Cyril Smith. Another, a senior member of Britain's intelligence agencies. There was evidence of abuse by police officers too.
Morality should take precedent, in my view, but I can understand the obstacles. I can understand it. It's just, you know, you've got families, we've got jobs. What if this was more to do with the Official Secrets Act and national security per se?
I could not understand at the time why a criminal file should come into the Special Branch offices to be kept in a locked safe.
We need honesty in politics today, straight talking, a bit more of a Christian-like attitude and less of the slanging.
The surveillance team had made witness statements, known as MG11s, and details had been logged with C11, Scotland Yard's intelligence unit. One evening, they made their move on a property in Streatham. Officers burst into a sex party and arrested Smith, among others. We've been told they were driven north of the river and brought here to the old Cannon Row police station, within sight of Downing Street and the House of Commons.
I had a phone call the other day. This person was telling me that maybe there's another angle. Maybe it's the Official Secrets Act.
But this did not set in train the prosecution that officers had imagined. Far from it. Newsnight has been told that the duty sergeant on that night was stopped in his tracks and pilloried for even contemplating keeping Smith in custody. To the astonishment of those who witnessed it, the MP was released.
Maybe Sarah Rebotham cannot say anything. Maybe Alan Brett cannot say anything. Maybe the Mayor or Steve Rumbelow cannot say anything because of the Official Secrets Act.
They were given a reassurance that Smith would no longer play an active role in public life, a reassurance that ended up being hollow. And there was a warning: speak again of this operation and you will be breaking the Official Secrets Act.
When I look at it, I think, well, you know, maybe I have a point. I get a couple of links sent. A link was from Newsnight.
Another astonishing twist when the officers reconvened at their base.
That base was here, on the first floor of the Met's Gilmore House, just a mile from Coronation Buildings. That the squad was called together here and addressed by a senior officer they'd never met before. There was a row, and it ended up with detectives being ordered to hand over all their evidence. Notebooks, photos, videos, the lot.
And that was told to them by a higher ranking officer. When you've got that in mind, how do you work with that? We often criticise the police, but same again. When you criticise the police, we've got to be sure to criticise the right level of the police force that is doing this, that is enabling this, that is complicit in this. That doesn't mean that we're talking about every rank and file of the police force. It does not mean that.
But his story has been examined by Clive Driscoll, a Scotland Yard detective who investigated child abuse in Lambeth and later prosecuted the murders of Stephen Lawrence.
Mr. Driscoll, you've examined these claims. What do you make of them?
Well, I think that I looked at them as I probably would have done when I was a police officer, and on the balance of probabilities, you would have to say they appear very credible. Certainly the timing and the type of allegations that are made are one that I'm sure the Metropolitan Police would take very, very seriously. If you take all of the information that appears to be out there together, it does look like collusion with police officers and other agencies to prevent what is a straightforward criminal case.
We all knew about Cyril Smith. Everybody knew.
I personally can't condone that. I think it's wrong.
There was people not too happy within the police force because of this. So it then led to a police training video on paedophilia.
Time and again, Cyril Smith seems to have escaped the long arm of the law. But his behaviour seems to have been so well known in the police that he even appeared in their training videos. Here he is at Euston Station, testing out the new automated ticket gates in 1989. It wasn't his first appearance on camera there, according to new claims. Police had previously filmed him on the station's platforms, approaching underage boys. So says the man who has done most to unearth Smith's offending.
What we've learned recently is that Cyril Smith appeared in a transport police training video that was shown to police officers to learn about how paedophiles effectively groomed boys. He was filmed here in Euston, approaching boys and grooming them, trying to appeal to them, and that's what we now know.
Now, I'm only surmising that the frustration of the police force and the investigating police officers at the time must have been too much to bear. when their morality is kicking in, but yet their superiors, who just by sheer rank, you could argue is supposed to be more higher morale than they are. Now, what they were seeing was anything but. They were seeing the highest level of corruption being fed from above. So they decided to do a training video that was for the internal police force, but in order to highlight paedophilic behaviour and the signs to look for. What makes it even more interesting, when the investigating officers were reprimanded in terms of not going any further with Cyril Smith, they were given guarantees that Cyril Smith would be playing no more of an active role, so just let it lie. That didn't happen. So you could see there was many failings and many promises, even within the police force, even probably within the intelligence agencies, because don't forget, one of the people arrested was a senior ranking member within the intelligence agencies. So you're going to get a lot of closed ranks at this point.
This former detective, Jack Tasker, was one of the first police officers to investigate Smith. He was convinced of his guilt.
He denied the sexual content and said to her, and they said, well, there might have been a little bit of chastisement for things he'd done wrong. And we asked him to explain that. He said, a smack.
From what you've said, either Cyril Smith was lying or the 8 victims at Cambridge House
Were lying, yes. I didn't think they were lying.
Take Jack Tasker, a former detective in Rochdale whose senior officers told him to leave Smith alone.
Now, we're telling you now, and we're ordering you now, you don't do anything further in investigating Cyril Smith. You don't speak about it to anyone. You don't do anything at all. We're taking this investigation over.
What was your reaction to that?
Well, it was shock. It's never happened before.